Peace, family. This is Tariq. Welcome back again for another day, another episode of Knowledge Corner. All right, today's insight: how it feels to be in love. How it feels to be in love. I got this from the Temptation song, Love to the Music. This is off of their Legacy album that was released May 6th of 2004. Very interesting that this song came up in my repeated all-time, playlist, because I never really listened to this song. Um, no disrespect to newer Temptation songs, but I really enjoy the classic, quartet or quintet and some of the 70s Temptation songs. So I really never paid attention to this song. I know my dad loved it because my dad loved anything Temptations. Um, so the part of the song that really resonated with me is, do you know what it is to be in love? Do you know what it is to be in love? And that's pretty much how each one of the verses starts. Was kind of trying to figure out exactly how I was going to relay this message, because love, as I've said before, is an action. It's not a feeling, it's an action. And there are different types of love. The way I love my children is different than the way I love, say, a friend. Or the way I love my wife is different than how I love, say, my ex-wife and the mother of my son. I love all of them. I just love them differently for different reasons. For my son's mother and the mother of my daughters, I love them because they gave me something that no other woman has given me. They gave me children. So for them, there is a level of reverence that I have for them because, they could have not been here, giving birth, to my children. Especially, my daughter's mother. Both of my daughters were preemies, and they spent some time in the NICU, and that had to do a lot with the fact that my ex-wife wasn't fully able to carry them a full term. So the love I have for her is different, because she sacrificed her life, possibly, to give birth to my children. Now, my wife, I love her differently. I almost love her similar to how I love my children, which is unconditional. And I can't speak for a woman. I've never been a woman, so I can't speak for a woman on how they love. But for a man loves generally unconditionally. And when we do love, we tend to love hard. That's why a lot of times that it throws us off when the woman we are in a relationship with tells us that she no longer wants to be with us, because in our minds we're doing everything we can in order for her to see that we actually love them. But women love differently. For me, a lot of the love that I have for my wife is that she's loyal to me and she respects me. Those are two things that would be considered deal breakers for any man. Love and respect. Your woman has to love and respect you. And without that, no relationship is never going to fully be the way it's supposed to be. Um, I've been in a lot of toxic relationships. And at one point, I thought those relationships were love. But once I've actually seen and felt what true love is different, because any love that you have is supposed to bring you closer to God. And if it brings you further away from God, then that is a lesson. That is not love that is supposed to last forever. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, 4 and 7. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. When I read that, I think of the marriage statistics. There are a lot of people who end up getting divorced, who end up getting married, a lot of times because they get married to people that they shouldn't be with. There's a thing that you marry people who either one, you want to marry, or two, God wants you to marry. And there's a difference. The people who end up getting divorced, I believe a lot of times those are relationships that we as humans put together. Those aren't divinely led marriages or relationships, because a lot of times you may not necessarily be married in the eyes of the law, but you would be married in the eyes of God, depending on the ceremony that you do. Surah Ar-Rum 30 verse 21. And among his signs is this, that he created for you mates from among yourselves, that ye may dwell in tranquility with them. And he has put love and mercy between your hearts. Verily in that are signs for those who reflect. He put love and mercy between your hearts. Verily in that are signs for those who reflect. Reflect. What are you reflecting on? We're reflecting on God. He put love in our hearts because he wants us to love this other person, but he wants us to love him even more because he brought that person in our lives. I read a book, and a portion of that book talked about loving someone and that person bringing you closer to God. It's called Sacred Marriage. Very, very, very good book. And for me, it put a lot of things in perspective for me because it allowed me to see marriage in a different light. In Islam, marriage is 50% of your deen. Deen is your life. So in Islam, it is required for a man and a woman to get married. In order for you to understand what true love is, you have to be in a relationship with someone else. Do I love my wife? Yes. Does my wife get on my nerves sometimes? Yes. Do I get on her nerves sometimes? Yes. But we love each other and we're able to put those differences aside and come to a better understanding. We can actually sit down and have a conversation about what's going on with us without one of us actually getting upset with each other. That is a love. Versus you being in a relationship with someone and you tell that other person how you feel and they automatically get on the defensive. That's not love. That's borderline toxic to me. Because if you're telling me I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, and I come back and tell you, well, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, and you try to gaslight me and have that fall back on me because you feel some type of way because I told you how I felt about things that you do, then that's kind of toxic in my mind. I've been in relationships like that. I've been that person And that other person has been, the other person I was in a relationship has been that person. But I've learned that was what I was supposed to do. I was learning that what I wanted out of a relationship is not that. I wanted to be able to sit down and have an actual conversation with my spouse. I wanted to be able to sit down and tell her how I feel. And I wanted to be able for her to be able to sit down and tell me how she feels about certain things. That's how a relationship works. When you go to work, you get paid to do a job. If you don't do your job, you get put on what is called a performance improvement plan, or a PIP. That basically tells you these are the requirements that you have to do in order for you to get off of this PIP, in order for you to continue to keep your job. I think in any relationship, there should be a PIP. There should be a performance improvement plan. You should be able to sit down with your mate or your spouse and be able to tell him or her, hey, this is what we need to do in order for us to be better. And that person should be able to do the same thing to you. But so many people are in their ego and they're so prideful, they don't want to be able to do that. So a lot of times they don't even want to get into a relationship with anyone, because they would rather just be by themselves and just deal with life on their own, which is cool. Me personally, I just don't think everyone's supposed to be in a relationship. It is what it is. The people who are supposed to be in relationships are going to be in relationships, and those who aren't. So I'm not sitting here telling anyone to jump into a relationship if you feel in your heart you shouldn't be in one. But if you feel in your heart that you are supposed to be in a relationship with someone else, there are certain things that you have to do in order for you to prepare yourself, in order for you to be in a relationship with someone else. And I pray that you listening to me today, you be able to understand some of those things. So, do you know what it is to be in love? How it feels to be in love? I know how it feels to be in love. And I pray if you're watching this, you know as well. And if you don't, I hope and I pray that you look at this and you'll be able to see a blueprint on how it is and how it is supposed to feel when you're in love. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and positive energy activates constant elevation. Peace.